For the past few weeks, I've been playing Wuthering Waves, an upcoming free-to-play open-world action RPG developed by KURO game, which will be available on PC and mobile devices with support for crossplay. Wuthering Waves is a game that I've been curious about for a while, but up until now I've been waiting to try it for myself before I made any videos for it. So for this video, I teamed up with KURO game and was given the opportunity to play it early so that I could give you an in-depth look at Wuthering Waves in preparation for the closed beta test. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of what to expect once you have a chance to play it for yourselves. Everything I'll be showing you in this video is from an early build of Wuthering Waves, which is currently still in development, so keep in mind that a lot of things will change and improve before release. But based on what I've played, the foundation of the game is there and its core gameplay and progression systems seem to be in place, which is what I'll be focusing on today. The story of Wuthering Waves is told from the perspective of a character referred to as Rover, and at the beginning of the game, you're given the option to choose and name the Rover that will become the main character of the story. Once the story begins, you will be discovered by Yang Yang, a member of Huanglong's Midnight Rangers. She soon realizes that Rover has trouble with their memory and is unfamiliar with their surroundings, so they both decide to team up in order to safely make their way through the area. After reuniting with the remaining members of Yang Yang's team, their reunion is quickly interrupted by a high-ranking, tacit discord known as the Crownless. Rover quickly jumps to everyone's defense, and the following battle marks the beginning of their journey. The main story revolves around Rover, but certain characters also have their own dedicated stories as you continue through the main missions. Just like with Yang Yang and the other members of the Midnight Rangers, you'll come across various other characters that have their own role to play. Some of them will offer a helping hand and will give you additional support, but others will oppose you for their own reasons. Within the world of Wuthering Waves, all of these characters are known as Resonators. The Resonators in Wuthering Waves are the characters that you'll be able to take control of while playing. Under most circumstances, only one Resonator can be on the field at a time, but you can create teams of up to 3 Resonators that can be rapidly switched in order to continue combos or activate unique effects under the right conditions. Each Resonator is unique, and it seems like a lot of thought went into the design of each Resonator's gameplay mechanics. They have their own movesets, abilities and roles within combat, and they all feel completely different to play, even when they share the same type of weapon. The value of some Resonators might not be obvious when they're used on their own, but they truly begin to shine when included in a team that have synergy between their attacks and abilities. Depending on the character, a certain number of normal attacks can be performed by tapping the attack button. For a lot of characters, the normal attack combo is pretty straightforward, but there are characters that can branch combos into other paths depending on their attack timing or through the use of additional inputs. For example, Rover's normal attack combo is 4 hits by default, but if you delay the 4th hit and instead attack when the effect trigger is displayed, the final hit of the combo will be converted into a heavy attack, which can then be followed up by a finisher that launches enemies into the air if the hit connects. Heavy attacks can be performed separately by holding down the attack button, and just like the normal attack combo, depending on the character, heavy attacks can also lead to additional combo steps or entirely different attacks depending on the context. Depending on the weapon type, it's possible for a character to perform a plunging attack. During normal circumstances, this attack consumes stamina to perform a downward strike while in mid-air. However, the characters that use pistols can instead use a mid-air attack that consumes stamina to fire their weapon while slowly descending to the ground. It's also possible for pistol characters to freely aim their pistols to perform a charge shot or to aim at specific targets. Each character also has 3 core abilities that give them their own identity: Resonance Skills, Resonance Liberations, and Core Fortes. A Resonance skill is a character's main active ability. These skills usually have a fast cooldown, so they can easily be included in combos without too much downtime. Resonance Liberations are powerful skills that can be unleashed after a character generates enough resonance energy. Resonance energy can be attained in various ways, but the main way seems to be when hitting enemies with resonance skills. And just like resonance skills, the purpose of a resonance liberation will change depending on the character. For some characters, it can deal a quick burst of damage. For others, it will be a skill that supports the team, but in some instances, it can completely change the way you use a character for a specific period of time. Core Forte is the name given to the system that governs a character's core mechanics. Each character has a gauge that is displayed above their health bar. This gauge displays the information necessary to make use of a character's unique mechanics. These mechanics can modify a character's existing attacks in various ways, or when certain conditions are met, it can enable additional abilities. For example, Yang Yang's core forte is called of wind and feathers. When using specific attacks, Yang Yang will generate up to 3 cleaving winds, which are displayed on the gauge above her health bar. Once she has 3 cleaving winds, Yang Yang's heavy attack can launch enemies into the air, which can be used to set up mid-air combos with other characters. She can also consume all cleaving winds while she's in mid-air to perform her multi-hit feathery blade plunging attack. Another example is Shisha, who has the blazing hero core forte. When hitting enemies with normal attacks, heavy attacks, and when tapping her resonance skill, Shisha can generate up to 60 thermobaric bullets. After acquiring bullets, holding down the resonance skill will allow Shisha to activate Stifle Fire, which consumes her thermobaric bullets to deal fusion damage. Tapping the normal attack button after consuming a certain amount of bullets will perform Boom, creating a derivative attack that deals burst damage and ends the rapid fire attack. And for the final example, just to show how much variation there can be between the different characters' mechanics, Sanhua's core forte, Silent Burst, revolves around using timing-based attacks that are represented by a glowing area on the perspective bar, which is displayed above her health bar. When holding down the attack button, the indicator on Sanhua's perspective bar will begin to move, and she will also flash to briefly indicate the perfect time to attack. Releasing the attack button while the indicator is in the frostmark area will trigger Sanhua's burst attack that charges forward, dealing glacier damage while also detonating previously created walls of ice picks and glaciers that are in her path. You have many offensive abilities at your disposal to take down enemies, but they can fight back just as aggressively as you. However, there are various ways to defend yourself when up against enemy attacks. While in combat, you can consume a bit of stamina to evade or to sprint to gain some distance from enemies. If you perfectly time the evade, you will perform an extreme evasion to completely avoid taking any damage, which can then be followed up with a character's evasion counterattack. It's also possible to parry an enemy's attacks. When an attack can be parried, a visual indicator will briefly appear while the enemy is preparing its attack. If you attack while this is visible, you'll parry the enemy, slightly knocking them off balance. Parrying can also have a greater effect depending on the type of enemy you're facing. Certain stronger enemies will have an additional bar underneath their health bar. For some enemies, this bar will be empty at the beginning of the fight and will gradually increase as the enemy takes damage, but for some enemies, it's completely filled from the beginning of the battle. When the bar is filled, the enemy seems to enter an enraged state that makes their attacks more aggressive and increases their defenses. The enemies that are in this state create more openings and are more susceptible to parries. Continuously attacking an enemy will gradually chip away this enraged bar, but when you parry the enemy, it will reduce the bar by a large amount. Once the bar is completely empty, the enemy will be broken and they'll become vulnerable until the bar refills again. As I mentioned before, you can have up to 3 characters in a party, or 4 when someone joins as a guest character during the story. These characters can be switched at any time during combat, but when switched at specific times, they can gain some additional beneficial effects. As characters deal damage to enemies or use Echo skills, they will gain Concerto Energy. Concerto Energy is displayed next to a character's health bar and next to their team portrait, or to the left of the character during combat after the feature has been unlocked. When the energy is fully charged, switching to another character will activate that character's cooperative skill and consume the previous character's accumulated Concerto Energy to trigger a Concerto effect based on the Concerto elements of the switched characters. Concerto effects can provide the switched character with various enhancements, or it can debuff enemies for a specific period of time. So it's a good idea to take the elements of characters into consideration when building teams, so you can take advantage of the additional effects. The combat system in Wuthering Waves is designed to be easy to pick up and play, while still being rewarding enough for people that want to master the combat and play skillfully. The button inputs for attacks may seem limited at first glance, and for weaker enemies earlier in the game you can get away with just mashing the normal attack button. But as new characters unlock and as more gameplay systems become available, the potential depth of the combat system starts to reveal itself. Characters can be swapped mid-attack to continue a combo that was started by the previous character. So you can begin a combo with one character and launch the enemy into the air, then switch to another character to continue the combo, and then finish the combo off with the third character in the team. Each character will have their own basic combo that they can do, but depending on the context, different attacks can be performed even if you're using the same button input. So you'll need to experiment with the various characters you have to see if you can come up with teams that have good synergy between their attacks and equipment effects. Some fights were challenging and seemed to be designed to keep you on your toes, but as long as you understood the basics, nothing felt punishing. Instead, it felt approachable and welcoming since there was enough visual information on display to let you know which types of attacks you can do or when the best time to parry or evade is. And there are enough customization and upgrading systems in place for you to increase the power of your characters. The most important one of those systems are echoes. Echoes are a type of monster collection feature in Wuthering Waves that also functions as the main equipment system. Each character can equip up to 5 echoes, and each of them will increase the attack, defense, and health of the character and provide them with additional enhancements. The enhancements these echoes can provide are split into the tonic and consonant categories. If an echo is equipped in the first slot, it will provide the character with the tonic combat focus skill and an additional randomized stat. The combat ability earned through the echo can modify the combat style of a character and enable them to use certain categories of abilities that they wouldn't usually have access to by default, like giving a purely attack-focused character the ability to heal or use crowd control. There are also some echoes that will briefly transform the character into the tacit discord or mutant that the echo came from, giving them access to various special attacks. Echoes equipped in the remaining 4 slots will provide characters with the echo's consonant enhancements once the echo has been upgraded to the required level. These enhancements are unlocked after the echo has been enhanced to level 5 by consuming echo experience point items. Each level will increase the base stats of the echo, and the higher the rarity of the echo, the higher the level cap will be. And the higher the level cap is, the more chances for additional bonus stats. But no matter what the rarity is, if an echo reaches its level cap, it can be enhanced even further by using echo tuning. Echo tuning adds an additional randomized stat to the echo when sacrificing a duplicate echo. This extra stat can be continuously re-rolled as long as you have a duplicate echo available. The additional stat bonuses that are applied through tuning seem to stay active in both the tonic and consonant equipment slots. There doesn't seem to be a limit to the types of echoes that can be used, but equipping specific echoes on the same character will apply a set bonus. And the character can have multiple set bonuses depending on the selection of echoes that are currently equipped. From what I've seen so far, all of the various echo-related systems provide you with a lot of freedom to customize characters to fit your preferred playstyle. So the potential for customization is huge, and it gives people that enjoy experimenting with builds a lot to play around with. Apart from the customization and combat elements in Wuthering Waves, the other main aspect of the game is its open world. During the closed beta, I was able to explore the Huanglong region of the open world. The main hub area of Huanglong is the city of Tiansheng. I found myself continuously returning to Tiansheng in order to pick up new missions or use the available shops. There are multiple areas within the Huanglong region with their own environments, challenges, and enemies. The world is fairly large, but there are various locations on the map that function as checkpoints that can be used for fast travel or to heal the team when they were low on health. But the high mobility of characters made moving through the world quick and stress-free. I could automatically vault and climb over obstacles in the environment when running, and I could swim when I needed to travel across the water to reach other locations, and I could also use a glider to slowly descend while I was in mid-air. But the most enjoyable aspect of the movement system was using wall running to quickly climb to higher locations. Being able to double jump by pressing evade in mid-air was also fun and added to my mobility. I mainly use this to gain additional height while jumping or to maneuver my way around ledges while climbing. I could also use exploration tools while traveling through the open world. The main ones being the scanning tool that can be used to scan the area to reveal useful information like collectible ingredients, enemy weaknesses, and sound marks. The grappling hook that can be used to directly leap upwards, which gave me additional height after a double jump. Or I could use it to grapple onto grapple points on the map to quickly travel across large areas or to easily reach specific locations. And the levitation tool could be used to grab and throw specific objects in the world. This was mainly used for puzzles, but there were certain objects that I could pick up and throw towards enemies. There were other tools that seemed to mainly be for leisure, like showcasing my obtained echoes, taking pictures, or leaving messages in the world. But honestly, I didn't really make much use of these since they had no impact on gameplay. I would have preferred to use their slots for consumable items, but that wasn't an option from what I saw. There are also activities that are more structured and are usually something you'll undertake when you have a specific goal in mind. These activities are categorized within the resonance records and tend to be core to the progression of characters. In the reverberation figure menu, you can find a list of enemies as well as crucial information about their combat style, echoes, and item drops. You can also select an enemy and designate them as a target, so you can easily track their location on the map and hunt them down if you need specific items. Tacet fields contain battles against multiple tacet discords or overlord class enemies. The enemies you'll face in these areas usually put up more of a challenge than the other enemies you'll face out in the open world. But if you're successful, you'll be able to obtain useful resources for upgrading your characters, weapons, and echoes. It's also possible to earn interference plates when completing these challenges for the first time, which can be traded in for useful items back in the city. And in the ambience menu, you can find a list of instance dungeons that contain training areas, specific boss battles, and areas where you can search for specific materials. Some of these areas can require a bit of preparation and planning since the rewards rotate daily, so you will need to think about what your goal is for that day since there are limits to how many rewards you can claim within these areas each day. Wuthering Waves shows a lot of promise, and it has the potential to become the next success in the free-to-play open-world action RPG genre, which has gained a lot of popularity over recent years. But it all depends on if KURO Game can polish and improve Wuthering Waves from now up until release, and create something that can truly live up to people's expectations. It would be nice if eventually there were multiple overlapping environmental systems that created unpredictable and fun situations. Right now everything seems very controlled and deliberate, and the only random things I've noticed are different types of enemies fighting amongst each other. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but when exploring an open world, having a layer of unpredictability can make the world feel more immersive and alive. But the foundation they currently have is solid, so they have a good opportunity to build upon what they've already created. While I was playing, they were also implementing the English voice acting into the game, so I've heard some of the voice acting for the characters while they're in battle. For the most part, they're very well done and match the character's personality and appearance, but it's still too early for me to give full judgment since I still haven't had a chance to hear what they actually sound like during cutscenes. I hope that in the future, Wuthering Waves gets a console release and controller support. Based on what I've played, I know I feel more comfortable playing on a controller, and the more people that have access to the game, the better. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the keyboard and mouse controls, since those actually works really well. This is just my personal preference when it comes to playing action games that don't require many inputs. Some of these things could already be implemented in the build people are going to play for the beta, or maybe I just overlook some of these things and they're already in there. But this game is definitely one that will have my attention from now on. If you're someone that's into action RPGs, then Wuthering Waves is a game worth trying if you have the opportunity. And if you're able to play the beta, then just remember that this truly is a beta and not a demo. The game is definitely still in development and many of the features require your feedback. So be sure to let the development team know what you think and share any hopes that you have for the future of the game using the methods they provide. If you're unable to take part in the beta, hopefully this video gave you all the information you need to help you decide if this is a game that you should play. I will be making some more videos about Wuthering Waves, so subscribe if you want to be the first to know when they're available. I'll be making some new videos very soon, but until I make those videos, here's another that you might find interesting.